everybody, young Grasshopper here. Welcome to the Cliffside Bunker in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And this is another episode talking all about my G40 Tournament Edition rules. It's for those that are preparing to come and play in Toronto, August 2022. And for anybody that just wants to try something new, different, spice up their G40 out-of-box gaming groups. Obviously, we're not getting together these days. And it's pretty hard to do any kind of tabletop gaming, of course. Hoping that these videos are just helping you guys get through whatever lockdowns you're in. I know that it's therapeutic for me to be able to just shoot videos and, keep busy while I'm locked down, isolated. Now, we did play test these rules all through 2020 with a very small group of us, some dedicated play testers, but now that the numbers are high, I'm not having anybody over, but that'll change sooner or later. Now, a lot of people have been asking me about the tournament and where you can register. I'm going to put a couple of links in the description box of this video. One is the link to the forum thread over at axanallies.org, just laying out the tournament edition rules, things that I've been going over with you guys in this video series. And another link to a event forum thread that has the event details. Now, we're still a long ways away from our tournament, guys. Now, some people have been paying and registering ahead of time just to sew that up and get it done. I can tell you that there's no real reason to worry about losing your spot. I mean, we're in February, so even if you wanted to contact me and register and take care of that registration payment a year from now, you'd still be safe, okay? I mean, I'm not capping the population of the event, right? If it turns out to be a lot, I'll rent a bigger place. But if you want to take care of that and sew that up and have it solidified so you don't have to worry about it, contact me. And, the registration is $75 per player Canadian, okay? But again, got lots of time to take care of that. Now, go to the links and check those out. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of customizations right now. Some people are asking me for card decks and everything. I'm just being super careful. Of course, when I make a card deck and I sell it, then the rules have to be ultimately finalized. And I'm very confident that the rules are solid. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people right now, want to make sure that I'm comfortable making that card deck and going forward, because once the card deck is done and I sell my first deck over at Make Playing Cards, then I'm not changing anything about it at all. Now, for that to happen, I got to make sure that there's no issues. And I've been getting a lot of feedback from people, and I want to appreciate it. And so a lot of that feedback is divided. Some people say that it's just way too easy as the allies to win. Some people say that it's way too easy as the Axis to win. Now, a lot of people might just think, hey, that's great news. That means it's balanced. Well, yeah, I mean, some people say that it favors the Allies too much. Some people say it favors the Axis too much. Problem I have is that they're contacting me, emailing me with concerns, and they're a little bit anxious for my house rules, saying, you know what? I don't think it's balanced at all, and I think that there's loopholes. I think that the Axis can win guaranteed all the time, and I'm getting emails saying that I'm concerned for your house rules. I feel like the Allies can win all the time. So we're kind of in a frozen state right now where the rules aren't changing. When I talk to people one-on-one, I feel very comfortable just helping them and explaining to them, and easing their concerns a little bit when it comes to what they might feel is wrong with the systems here that I've introduced. Let's do a little recap. Let's move on. Let's do a little recap. So I've set up the board here, getting ready for a tournament edition game. Of course, we have swapped out all of our tan Brits for Anzac Gray. You can see now this is the difference. This is the difference between the G40 out of box setup and the tournament edition setup. We're going to remove all this stuff and we're going to swap it out for the gray. The numbers haven't changed, the positioning hasn't changed. However, we are taking a major industrial complex off the board and swapping it for a minor industrial complex. Take a look here, major complex is off the board for that minor. And we have adjusted our order of play. Take a look here. We've removed Anzac from the game completely. So we removed one roundel from the order of play sequence, and we've removed one roundel from the income tracker. And let's take a look, and we can see here that our order of play is now in line. Lots of glare there. There we go. Is in line with our tournament edition rules. And we have, of course, removed the Anzac roundel, and we have bumped the UK Pacific roundel up to 27. So those are the only changes, right? If you know, I had this set up for G40. I just finished my aircraft carrier strategy video, and literally took me only a few minutes to get it ready and prepare it to shoot this video about my tournament edition. So I want to just review a little bit. In the last video, we talked about how you can no longer, the Allies can no longer collect for these territories just simply by jumping on them and claiming them from the Dutch. That can't happen anymore. And I just want to tell you a little story too. I mean, going back to certain people saying it's too easy for the Allies or it's too easy for the Axis. All right. So in out of box, obviously you jump on these as the Allies, whether you're neutral or not, you take it from the Dutch and you're going to go up that money. Obviously, when we're collecting 27 IPCs by combining this economy and this economy, by allowing them to do that while neutral, it's just going to give them a massive cash on hand. And it won't matter that this is a minor or whatnot. And again, playtesting, we playtest all kinds of different things. And this came in and we all seem to like it. Except for one person. One person was like, that's too hard against the Allies, right? And then later, as we did things to help the Allies, he had changed his opinion. But let's look at this. So not taking the money for these islands. It's necessary for the reasons I just explained. Now, if you are the UK Pacific player, and we talked about in the last video about how they have restrictions when it comes to declaring war. So they may need to wait until the beginning of their third turn to declare war. Japan might leave them out of the war, and it's highly likely, especially if, say, the Axis over here are going for the Africa token. But during that time, with the 27 IPCs, even though they can spend 3 here, they're going to get an extra purchasing turn. So new units are going to hit the board before Japan even gets their first turn. And that's a big advantage. Now, they can stack up here, even though it's 3, they can pull up, they can get prepared for whatever happens. They don't know what Japan's going to do yet, right? But in a lot of cases in our playtesting, the UK Pacific went into the Middle East. They used this to come here, all right? They could come down here and hit something, but they're limited because they don't have these UK units to help them hit these. But they find that a lot of times coming here and landing in Persia right away and getting that territory allows them to take that money and build a factory in Persia round 2. And that's going to really help them dominate this area. Now, a good reason why is not only do they support the Allies here in Africa, especially if Africa token is the goal for the Axis, but they get this money. Now, the money from these territories, when taken by the UK Pacific, will become UK Pacific. All right. Now, so the 2 here and the 2 here will become a part of this economy. So the 27 plus 2 plus 2. So they can be doing this while they're neutral. Now, they're not going to really stay neutral very long, okay? Now, Hambone has started a great YouTube solo game with these rules, and I've been talking to him, and he really feels like he wants another crack at it because he learned so much kind of stumbling and tripping in the dark. He learned so much that he just wants to go back and do things differently now. And one of the things that he wasn't sure about was the fact that if this money went to these guys, like out of box, or if it goes to these guys. So these guys being their own nation, their own economy, their own separate color units, and then they're going to, it doesn't matter what side of the board, they're going to go ahead and take that income, okay? And it's going to apply to their Calcutta capital income. Now, a friend of mine that I play with, he's really upset that you don't get the money for these. Really upset that you don't get the money for these in one game. And then he goes ahead and starts taking this stuff and moving it here and starts dominating the East and peeling off aircraft and coming in, fighting against Iraq and everything, building a factory here. And you know what I said to him? I said, listen, if you're going to be that aggressive on that side of the board, I said, if you're going to peel away that many units, right, and weaken the defense of Calcutta, I'm just going to say this, if you end up losing Calcutta, then don't blame the rule. All right. So he's upset that he doesn't get the money here, but then he goes ahead and strips all these units to come and take all this. Now, I got no problems with coming in here and taking all this and building a factory here, right? They've got the money and they can only build 3 here. They can only build 3 here. But conversely, a different strategy would be to hold on here, maybe come and take Persia, but don't just feed everything. Don't spend that 12 IPCs here. Spend it here on good units. Wait for this to become a major, and then maybe save some money so that you can plop even more powerful units when it comes time to dump 10, right? And all I'm saying is that there's 2 very extreme ways of playing this. You can play it conservatively and tight with powerful units with that money to protect both Calcutta and Sydney. Or you can go and take all of this and have gains here and a hold here and a hold here, but ultimately weaker when you're in 3 areas. So now obviously when Japan comes and takes these islands, there can be a counterattack and you take it away from Japan and then you can control the 4 IPC. So some people have been asking about that. Obviously, if you liberate it from the Axis enemy, then you're going to claim the 4, just like if you were to kick Germany off of Morocco as the Americans, you're going to take that 1 IPCs because Paris has fallen, more than likely, and we're going to treat this as if it's the Dutch with their capital fallen. They control it and own it. You can land on it like a friendly ally, like your planes and everything else, but you cannot take the money like that special rule in out of box anymore. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and that's why this series is so long, guys. 5 episodes. There's not a whole lot of rules in this variant, but mind you, the rules really affect the game. I want to talk about it. I've realized this over the years. People that want to bring in a house rule and whatnot and change the game, whether it be small or large, any little change is going to send ripples through the mechanics, through the systems, through just the way strategies are implemented. It could change things. And even though I could summarize everything that I've done differently in one video, that wouldn't really pay homage to the fact of how much it changes the game. Now, I've tried my best to keep it a recognizable G40 game. Anybody coming to Toronto to play in my tournament, I want them to feel like that it's relatively the same game that they love and enjoy playing over the years. But what we've added just is for tournament structure, and it's fun. And we've kicked out a lot of stuff that was just unnecessary. But everything that we have here is what we feel absolute. We cannot get rid of it for all kinds of different reasons. Now, the order of play, I want to talk about this, very dynamic. This is another example of how one thing can change the game. And you've got a lot of different variants out there. You've got balance mod, you've got BBR, you've got a lot of rules that in the past I've tried to implement, and back in 2017 we've tweaked and taken out a couple of things, right, in regards to this tournament edition rules. But before I get into the order of play, I want to talk about a rule that I didn't discuss in my last video, and that is the capital purge rule. Now, even if you are a G40 traditionalist and you don't like implementing house rules at all, this is one that you might want to consider, and you might want to say, nope, I'm a pure traditionalist. I play by Larry's out-of-box rules, and that's that. Well, even so, this is one rule that you might agree needs to be changed, and that's got to do with the capital purge. It's when a nation like Germany or Italy or whoever comes in and takes a capital like Paris and will take the 19 IPCs from that. They'll maybe have lots of transports and come in and take London, and they'll take the money from that. And even so, here in Calcutta, for example, Japan takes the money. Now, there's very little support for liberating in this game. And the reason being is because of the capital purge rules, which state that the enemy is going to get the cash on hand right away. Now, the order of play kind of does something about that. Take a look here, get the glare down. But let's say Germany has a successful sea line, they control London, all right? And obviously later, the UK, Europe cannot take it back, but America can. Say America liberates, right? Well, Germany's going to get a chance to go before these guys. So this liberation needs to be strong, because the Brits can't get units to their home to help defend before Germany gets another crack at them. All right, so that's how the order of play changes things. All right. And when it comes to just for the example of the Denmark can opener, and what that is, just briefly, the Americans come up here, land in Denmark, and on Britain's turn, they come through this canal and land in Berlin. It's a sneaky can opener, but it's possible if your opponent has got his guard down. The Americans come through here, land in Denmark, opening up the strait, allowing the Brits to come in with any transports, okay, and land in Britain. And it's not unheard of if the Germans are just so focused on taking Moscow and they leave their capital too bare. It's happened. It's happened to me, and I've done it to somebody else. So, I mean, you can't do that really anymore unless it is Britain providing the can opener for America. And obviously, I mean, we can talk all day long about how there are no more Italian can openers to help Germany against Russia, because Russia is going to go in between Italy and Germany, sort of making it a little bit more difficult for the Germans to sack Moscow, at least really fast. Anyway, so if you have a lot of experience sacking Moscow without Italian can openers, then this is not going to be a problem. But if your whole gameplay on sacking Moscow relies on your Italian can openers, then you're not going to have them anymore. All right. So we need to be aware of this, and this is where the practicing comes in, right? Just wrapping your noodle around how different the game becomes with this. Now, I didn't do this just to make the game different. I did this as a way to speed up the game, make the gameplay more efficient. if you go into the forum thread and you bring up the rules and go all the way down, you will see all of these player 1, player 2, 5-player games, 6-player games. You'll see a whole list of combinations that are mandatory player assignments. And basically what that is no matter what combination of game you have, if you've got 3-player team playing the Axis against a 2-player team for the Allies, or you have a 1-player against 2-player, or a 3-player against 1-player, or a 3-on-3 or 2-on-2, every situation is there reflected, but the player assignments are mandatory, and the reason being is it's designed in correlation with this order of play so that 2 players can be going at the same time. Now obviously it's a template to allow it to happen. Now we're going to be very diligent about getting ahead of ourselves, and we're going to talk all about that later, but I'll just bring this up now when we talk about the turn blocks. Okay, so these are the turn blocks in which these 2 players are going to go at the same time because they rarely affect each other. Same thing here, they rarely affect each other. Now in late game rounds, when units are spread out, then it may affect each other. And you'll have to be aware of who it is that is legitimately going first and who's second. But the idea is that 2 players are going at the same time, and we're not going to allow players in turn block 2 start their turns before the players in turn block 1 are finished. Same thing here. Both these players need to be completed their turns before these 2 go. All right? And that is going to really speed up games. Now, right now, I've got the cap of each tournament game at 8 complete rounds. Now, when I say that these rules are finalized, I would say, yeah, 99% finalized. The reason being is because, obviously, I'm still fielding in a lot of comments and concerns from people that feel like the game is still unbalanced. And as I talk to these people, and I will find out if they've got a legitimate concern or if it's just something that I've already answered before with somebody else, and I can calm them down and explain to them, why things are the way that they are and that there's no reason to be concerned. But if somebody brings something to me that requires some deep thought, then yeah, we may have to tweak something. But when it comes to how the rules are now, 99% finalized, I mean, we may change that 8-round cap. Now, right now, it's in the rules, and we're happy with it. But if we find out, for example, that there's some tokens that just absolutely cannot be completed at all, that should have a chance to be completed within 8 rounds, we might make it 9 rounds. So, moving on, we talked about the capital purge, okay? If you're a traditionalist, the capital purge rule, taking money each round. Well, in this game, in the tournament edition rules, you take the cash on hand the first time a capital falls. The second time a capital falls, any cash on hand will go to the bank. All right. So I kind of got off track. I wanted to emphasize that point. So in out of box, you jump on the same capital if there's cash on hand to be taken, right? Sometimes in these situations, in these new turn orders, it may not be feasible to take that cash on hand. But if you're in a situation where you are collecting cash on hand and it's taken away from you again in out of box, it goes to the conqueror over and over again. It really discourages people from liberating in the first place, even if they can, because they're just going to be giving their enemy extra money. Now, obviously, when a capital goes down, the enemy deserves that money first. right? That first time the capital goes down. But once a capital has been conquered, right, after liberation, it cannot be taken again. The cash on hand cannot be taken again. It doesn't mean that the person who lost their capital gets to spend that. Not at all. It goes to the bank, okay? So even if you are an out-of-box traditionalist and don't like house rules, I highly recommend that one. There's a lot of goofy stuff that goes on. Just, turtling, not liberating when you should be liberating because you just don't obviously want to give your enemy more money, right? So we talked about the order of play and we talked about the assignments, the player assignments. Very necessary. Player assignments are mandatory, all right? Now, I know that it might seem a little confusing there. Mike, Steve, Dave, Paul. But it was brought up to me that if a 3-player game or a 3-player team was playing a 2-player team, what would the assignments be if they were playing as the allies? And what would the assignments be if the 3-player team were playing the Axis versus a 2-player team as the allies? Now, right now, I have it so that 3-player teams, and yes, you can enter the tournament as a 3-player team. A 3-player team can play a 2-player team. Now, if we have enough 3-player teams enrolled, registered, then we're going to make a whole 3-on-3 division, and it doesn't really matter what the skill level will be. Now, you'll see that there are 4 different skill levels right now. There's specialist, which is expert. There is enthusiasts, which are advanced. Hobbyists, which are novice. And of course the 3-on-3. And I would like to have enough 3-on-3 teams to be able to make that division, simply because we don't have to assign any kind of skill level to that. In a 6-player game, anything can happen, right? It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're the best player around the team but you're playing Russia and that's all you do, then you can't control a lot, right? But again, I know that the player assignments, the listings, obviously when it was brought up to me by a 3-player team, what are the assignments if, because they want to practice, so I changed it to be very formal. So that's why there's so many player assignment scenarios in the thread, okay? All right, guys, well, that's good enough for now. I just want to talk a little bit about a few strategies to try and ease your mind, okay? So, I'm going to be talking and shooting videos all about strategies, but does anybody know about the Burma bump, right? This is when the allies just come in and fill this, and they stack it and fill it. In out-of-box, Britain declares war early. They bring up and they help support. They bring their planes, they help support. And what they do is they build this up and they blockade this so that the Chinese always get the road. And then because the Japanese are doing stuff other places, they just can't get enough land units here, even if they build a factory to deal with this. If it gets out of control and there's a huge stack right here, and Japan can never get to it. And it's actually a bit of a problem in the game. At least I think it is. Some people say, hey, it's hard for the Allies to win this game. Give them a break, right? And I understand that. If the Allies have found a strategy to help them against, the over-powerful Axis in this game, it's great. But the fact that with the declaration of war limitations of 2 rounds, Japan can actually control this somewhat. Now, they're going to get 2 free rounds to attack China without worrying about the Brits coming in and reinforcing. Now, in playtesting, it's worked and they've backed them up to here. And it's not even really the Axis trying to go for their China token at all, right? Even though that is a legitimate strategy, just go and gobble up the China token. I'll show you some ways of how you can kind of combat that. But, you know, the Burma Road buildup has been frustrating some Japanese players for a long time now. And this is just something, the declaration of war restriction is just something that allows the Axis to come in and get to here and take care of the the Chinese in the south here, where they don't see that big stack. And if they do anything in this game, if they do anything with these rules, they should do that. There's really no reason to have a big stack here, but sometimes even if you're trying and you're keeping them out of the war and you're trying to get this territory and it's back and forth, sometimes maybe it doesn't work out and they ended up getting the units there, especially with the 27 IPCs that can build mechanized infantry. It could build it up, but at least now with the declaration of war restriction, Japan has a chance to take care of this if they don't want to face that. And a lot of people will say, well, there you go, that's advantage Axis. You know, the Allies can't win. But, you know, I've had people explain to me that, you know, this game is the Allies to lose just because of the tokens and everything. But I've had other people say the Axis tokens are too easy compared to the Allies. And I'm going to talk about all of that in video after video after video. The great thing is we're over a year still away. We're well over a year away from I can use my channel to talk all about that, even right down to a small battle and how the rules affect even a small battle. And I could spend like a 25-minute video talking about that alone, right? And it's going to be necessary. I don't want people coming to the tournament, you know, unaware of some things that I know about the rules through my playtesting. And because you guys can't get together and chuck dice and practice, you know, watch the videos. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that even though you may not be able to get the practice, watching the videos, you're going to be aware of a few things, a few systems, a few loopholes because of the rules, because of the order of play, you know, because of this combined UK nation. Well, how about the fact, if you think that that's an advantage for Japan and the Axis, how about the fact that, you know, you can never lose this on a J1 attack because you go before the Japanese, right? You don't have to worry about losing these on a J1 attack because you go before the Japanese, and not only are you going to be able to pull those boats away safely away from a Japanese possible J1 Japanese attack, but also too, you're going to use 27 IPCs to build and get those units on the board before Japan even has a turn. That's a whole extra round of purchasing that hits the board before Japan goes, right? So it's like there's going to be all kinds of back and forth about, you know, I can go on and tell you about, you know, the bonus, you know, and how that is great in effects. And of course, this doesn't belong here. I tried to clean up after my aircraft carrier video, but I made such a mess with the aircraft carrier strategy video, and I tried to clean up. You're like, what are those Japanese doing in Borneo? Anyway, so anyway, I mean, like, I could show you another advantage for the Axis, and for every advantage I can show you for the Axis, I can show you an advantage for the Allies. And it's back and forth, and I'm going to show you all of it. Okay, we're going to take care of this initial intro series. And again, it's been a long series. We're going to take care of this and sum it up and finish this with the last episode coming up, talking an overview of the victory tokens, the victory objectives. And then after this series is done, we're going to get into all kinds of details and particulars, right? We're going to dive right into strategies involving specific tokens and going for them and preventing them. You know, a lot of people, when they look at this system, they don't think about the strategies involved in preventing. They just think, oh, I can get these and they can get them, and that's the score. But what about the strategies in preventing? What about spending resources and attacking and being disciplined to just go and deny somebody's token instead of just letting them have it while you go for one other one yourself? I mean, So we're going to talk all about that. There's the layers involved in this game with these tokens is deeper than a Christopher Nolan movie, guys. All right, cheers. That's it for now. Just talking a little bit about different things. I summed up the rule about the capital purge. That's in the forum thread. I talked a little bit more about the order of play and a few other things. Thanks a lot, guys, for your comments. I really rely on your battle reports if you play. Tell me who's winning. Tell me what tokens are taken. Tell me which round the tokens are taken. Tell me if you had fun. Tell me a story about what happened in the game. You know. And really appreciate just people being interested in this, and you know, the fact that you're reaching out to me because you're concerned that maybe it's unbalanced. I mean, that just tells me that you're interested, and if we can talk about it, and maybe you've got a legitimate concern that I got to look at and think about and go to my team about, then you know, I appreciate that, because the last thing I want to do is make a card deck and sell it and then find out something later, right? And about that, I mean, the card decks and the rules, the published documents and stuff, right now we just have the forum thread, guys, and I'm gonna work at giving you guys at least a document. But when those card decks hit the market, then there won't be any changes, you know, at least no changes that affect the cards, that's for sure. All right, guys, cheers. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate you guys checking out these videos. And again, we're going to do one last one all about the victory tokens and objectives, and then we're going to go straight in and diving into all kinds of content, anything that I saw during playtesting that's going to help you guys, and you know, going to create a whole library so that a year from now, when people are really starting to get into learning and coming to play, there's going to be all kinds of videos people can just dive into. All right, cheers. Thanks a lot. Take care. May all your rolls be ones, and see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.